Hold on, you ready for this? Because we're about to go somewhere most ARMY never even thought to look. You see, BTS, the biggest boy band in the history of modern music, they've given us thousands of hours of content, from Bangtan bombs to live concerts, from Run BTS episodes to late-night V-Lives, from behind-the-scenes footage to full-blown documentary series. We've seen them rehearse until their legs gave out. We've watched them cry on stage. We've seen them goof around in waiting rooms at 3 in the morning. But here's the thing. There's one version of these 7 men that almost nobody gets to see. The version that exists when they walk through the front door of their family home, kick off their shoes, and just become somebody's son again. And the only people on this planet who truly know that version? Their mothers. The women who raised them before the world ever learned their names. And guess what? Over the years, through interviews, variety show appearances, and moments that slipped through the cracks of carefully managed public images, some of these mothers have actually revealed what their sons are really like behind closed doors. And folks, the answers are not what you expect. Some of them are hilarious, some of them are heartwarming, and some of them will genuinely make you rethink everything you thought you knew about your bias. So buckle up, because this is the countdown nobody asked for, but everybody secretly needed. Number 7. BTS Jin, the kitchen monarch who treats cooking like a full-contact sport. Let's kick this list off with the eldest, the man, the myth, the legend, Kim Seok-jin. Now, if you've been following BTS for any amount of time, you already know that Jin loves food. That's not a secret. The man literally created an entire content series called Eat Jin where he just ate on camera for millions of people, and somehow it was the most entertaining thing on the internet. But here's where it gets interesting, because Jin's mother, and this is something that came out through various family-related segments and stories Jin himself has relayed from conversations with his mom, has painted a picture of her eldest son's relationship with food and cooking that goes way beyond what we see on screen. According to what has been shared over the years, when Jin goes home, he doesn't just cook, he takes over, like fully. The kitchen becomes his kingdom, and everyone else in that house becomes either a sous chef or an audience member, and there is no in-between. His mother has apparently expressed a mixture of pride and mild exasperation at the way Jin approaches home cooking because the man does not do anything halfway. We're talking about a guy who, when he decides he's going to make a meal, turns it into an event. He researches recipes, he watches cooking videos, he preps ingredients like he's about to film an episode of MasterChef, and he narrates the entire process out loud, to nobody in particular, just himself. Talking to the onions, complimenting the garlic, having a full conversation with a piece of meat about how it's going to taste when he's done with it. And here's the thing that makes this even funnier. Jin's mother has reportedly noted that despite all this theatrical energy in the kitchen, the food is actually really good, like genuinely impressive. This isn't a case of someone who's all show and no substance. The man can cook. He learned from watching his mother when he was younger, and somewhere along the line he developed this perfectionist streak when it comes to seasoning and technique that his family finds both impressive and slightly exhausting. Because when Jin cooks, the kitchen afterward looks like a war zone. Every pot, every pan, every utensil, used. The counter, covered. The stove, a battlefield of splatters and spills. And this is apparently a long-running source of comedic tension in the Kim household, because Jin will create this incredible spread of food, present it to the family with the confidence of a 5-star chef, and then just walk away. Leave the mess, act like the cleanup theory is going to handle it. And his mother, bless her heart, has apparently called him out on this more than once, which Jin has alluded to in various behind-the-scenes moments and interviews where he talks about his family dynamics with that signature dry humor of his. But it's not just the cooking itself that makes Jin's home habits so endearing, it's the whole vibe he brings to the house. His mother has, through the grapevine of stories that have trickled out over the years, described Jin as someone who fills the house with noise the moment he walks in. And not noise in a bad way, noise in a Jin way, which means dad jokes, constant, relentless, unstoppable dad jokes. The kind of jokes that make you groan so hard your soul leaves your body, but you also can't help but laugh because of the sheer commitment he puts into the delivery. His mother has apparently noted that Jin has been like this since he was a kid, always the one trying to make people laugh, always the one who couldn't stand a quiet room. When he comes home from schedules or overseas trips, the first thing he does isn't collapse on the couch or lock himself in his room. He finds his family and he starts performing, not in an idle way, in a Sun way. He tells them about his trip. He exaggerates every story for comedic effect. He does impressions of people he met. He recreates funny moments with full body movements and sound effects. And his mother apparently just sits there, watching her grown son, this international superstar who has performed in front of hundreds of thousands of people, act like a complete goofball in the living room, and she loves every second of it. There's also this detail that has come up in various fan-compiled moments and interview references. Jin apparently has a habit of eating late at night when he's home. Not a regular snack, a full meal, like at 1 or 2 in the morning. And his mother has reportedly expressed concern about this habit, the way any mother would, telling him it's not good for his health, that he should eat earlier, that his metabolism isn't going to be 22 forever. And Jin, being Jin, apparently just laughs it off, makes another joke, and then goes right back to raiding with refrigerator at midnight like a raccoon in a suburban neighborhood. It's these small, human, deeply relatable details that make Jin's home persona so fascinating, because this is a man who has won global awards, who has been on the cover of international magazines, who has a net worth that most people can't even conceptualize, and at home, he's just the eldest son who hogs the kitchen, tells bad jokes, and eats ramyeon at 2 in the morning while his mom yells at him from the other room. If that's not the most relatable thing you've ever heard, I don't know what is. And honestly, the fact that Jin's home habits are basically identical to his on-screen personality tells you something really important about who he is. There's no performance. What you see is what you get. The worldwide handsome guy who makes everyone laugh? That's not a character. That's Kim Seok Jin, at home, in the kitchen, covered in flour, telling a joke to a pot of boiling water. That's just who he is. Number 6. BTS Jungkook, the nocturnal competitor who turns his room into a training facility. Alright, let's talk about the youngest member of BTS, the golden maknae himself, Jungkook. Now, Jungkook has always had this reputation within the group as the guy who's good at everything. Singing? Check. Dancing? Check. Drawing? Check. Sports? Check. Video editing? Check. The man picks up skills like other people pick up groceries, and it's been one of the defining characteristics of his public persona since BTS debuted in 2013. But what his mother has revealed, through stories that have surfaced over the years via family segments, holiday specials, and details Jungkook himself has shared from his conversations at home, paints an even more intense picture of what this guy is like when the cameras aren't rolling. And the first thing you need to understand about home Jungkook is that this man does not have an off switch. He is, according to what his family has described, almost pathologically competitive, even when there is literally nothing to compete over. We're talking about a guy who will be sitting in the living room with his family and somehow turn a casual conversation into a challenge. Who can hold their breath longest? Who can do the most push-ups? Who can balance a spoon on their nose the longest? There is no activity too mundane for Jungkook to turn into a competition. And his mother has apparently expressed both admiration and exhaustion at this tendency, because it has been a part of his personality since he was a little kid growing up in Busan. Before he ever auditioned for big hit entertainment, before he ever stood on a stage, he was the kid in the neighborhood who had to win at everything. Every game, every race, every random physical challenge the other kids came up with. And that energy didn't go away when he became famous. If anything, it intensified, because now he had the resources and the physical training to take it to another level. His mother has reportedly talked about how Jungkook, when he comes home, will literally work out in his room. Not go to a gym, in his room. He'll move furniture around to make space, lay down a mat, and just start doing exercises. Sit-ups, push-ups, planks, you name it. At 10 o'clock at night, at midnight, at 2 in the morning. The man has no concept of appropriate workout hours, and his family has apparently just learned to accept that the muffled sounds of heavy breathing and counting coming from Jungkook's room at 1 a.m. is just the soundtrack of having him home. And this ties into another habit that his mother has reportedly discussed, which is Jungkook's relationship with sleep, or rather his complete disregard for it. Jungkook is famously nocturnal. The other BTS members have talked about this extensively over the years, how Jungkook will be wide awake at 4 in the morning, singing at full volume, editing videos, playing games, or just existing loudly while everyone else is trying to sleep. And according to what has been shared about his home habits, this is exactly how he is with his family too. His mother has apparently described multiple instances of finding Jungkook fully awake and energized at hours when normal humans are deep in REM sleep, doing things like watching workout videos, practicing vocal runs in front of a mirror, or playing mobile games with an intensity that suggests the fate of the universe depends on his score. And then, when everyone else in the house wakes up at 7 or 8 in the morning, Jungkook is dead to the world, unconscious, unmovable. A lump under the blankets that no amount of calling, shaking, or threatening can rouse. His mother has reportedly said that waking Jungkook up is one of the most difficult tasks known to mankind. And honestly, if you've seen any BTS content where the members tried to wake him up, you know this is not an exaggeration. The man sleeps like he's been enchanted by a witch in a fairy tale, and nothing short of physically removing the blankets, and possibly the mattress itself, will get him upright before he's ready. But here's the part that really hits different when you know the full context. Jungkook left home at 15 years old to pursue his dream of becoming an idol. 15! He moved from Busan to Seoul, away from his parents, his older brother, his entire support system, to live in a dorm with 6 older guys he barely knew. And his mother, like any mother watching her baby leave home at that age, must have had a million worries. So when Jungkook comes home now, as this grown man who has achieved things most people can't even dream of, and he falls back into these boyish habits, the competitive games, the late-night workouts, the impossible wake-up calls, there's something really tender about it. Because in that house, in that room, he's not Jungkook of BTS. He's not the golden maknae. He's just Jungkookie, his mom's youngest. The kid who never sits still, who always has to be the best at everything, who stays up too late and sleeps in too long. And his mother apparently lets him, because she knows how rare and precious those moments are. The moments when the world gives her son back to her, even if it's just for a few days. There's also this really endearing detail about Jungkook's gaming habits at home. According to various accounts that have surfaced, when Jungkook games at home, he does so with full emotional investment. We're talking yelling at the screen, celebrating victories with actual physical movements, jumps, fist pumps, the works, and reacting to losses as if they are genuine personal tragedies. His mother has apparently compared it to watching a one-man sporting event, and honestly, that tracks perfectly with everything we know about Jungkook's personality. This is the same guy who once got so competitive during a Run BTS game that he literally tackled another member to the ground. Of course he games like his life depends on it. It would be weirder if he didn't. And beneath all the chaos and energy and noise, his mother has reportedly acknowledged something that every ARMY already knows but loves hearing confirmed. Jungkook, despite the hyperactive exterior, is deeply affectionate with his family. He's the kind of guy who will be screaming at a video game one minute and then quietly asking his mom if she needs anything from the store the next. The duality is real, and it's beautiful.
Number 5. J-Hope, the clean freak whose room organization puts professional organizers to shame. Okay, now we're getting into territory that might genuinely surprise you, even if you think you know everything about BTS. Let's talk about Jungkook, J-Hope, and his home habits, because what his mother has revealed over the years is both simultaneously the most impressive and the most hilarious thing on this entire list. J-Hope is clean. And I don't mean clean in the way that normal functioning adults are clean, where you tidy up, do the dishes, vacuum once a week, and call it a day. No, J-Hope is clean on a level that borders on performance art. And his mother has confirmed this with a mixture of what can only be described as proud bewilderment. Let's set the stage first, because to truly appreciate J-Hope's cleaning habits, you need to understand where they come from. Jungkook grew up in Gwangju, a city in the southwestern part of South Korea, in what by all accounts was a warm, loving, but very normal household. His mother, who has appeared in various segments and whose observations have been relayed through multiple BTS content pieces over the years, has described Jungkook as a child who was always particular about his space. Not in an obsessive way at first, just tidy. He liked his things organized. He liked knowing where everything was. If a toy was out of place, little Hoseok would put it back. If his shoes weren't aligned perfectly at the entrance, he'd fix them. While other kids his age were creating destruction zones wherever they went, Hoseok was essentially a tiny quality control inspector making sure everything in his immediate environment met his personal standards. And as he grew up, this tendency didn't fade. It evolved. It leveled up. It became what the other BTS members have lovingly and fearfully referred to as Hope World, a term for his personal space that is always, without exception, immaculately organized. But what his mother has revealed goes beyond what even the members have talked about, because apparently when J-Hope comes home to Gwangju, his cleaning instincts go into overdrive. It's like the man sees his childhood home as a project. He walks through the door, greets his family, maybe sits down for 5 minutes to have a cup of tea, and then, almost involuntarily, like a reflex, he starts organizing. His mother has reportedly watching her son, fresh off a world tour, jet-lagged and exhausted, reorganize her kitchen cabinets because the spice jars weren't in alphabetical order. And she didn't ask him to do this. Nobody asked him. He just did it. Because he saw disorder and his brain physically could not rest until it was corrected. And it doesn't stop at the kitchen. J-Hope apparently goes through the entire house like a one-man cleaning crew. He organizes closets, he rearranges furniture for better feng shui, and yes, he apparently actually thinks about feng shui when positioning chairs and tables, which is both impressive and slightly terrifying. He color codes things. His mother has reportedly found her bathroom towels arranged by shade after J-Hope's visits, going from lightest to darkest in a perfect gradient that looks like it belongs in a home design magazine. And the funniest part? He does all of this while vibing, like he puts on music, usually upbeat, usually something he can dance to, and he cleans with full choreography. His mother has apparently walked into rooms to find her son dancing with a mop, hitting beats while wiping down counters, doing body rolls while vacuuming. The man has turned household chores into a one-man dance concert, and honestly, I think we can all agree that if anyone was going to make cleaning look like a performance art piece, it would be J-Hope. But here's the thing that adds a deeper layer to this whole situation. J-Hope's cleanliness isn't just about aesthetics. His mother has reportedly connected it to his personality on a deeper level, noting that Hoseok has always been someone who needs his external environment to match his internal state. When his space is organized, he feels organized. When things are clean, his mind feels clean. It's a form of self-care for him. And his mother recognized this early on, which is why she never discouraged it, even if it meant her kitchen got rearranged every time her son came home. There's also this really telling detail about J-Hope's approach to his childhood room when he visits. According to stories that have circulated through fan accounts and content analysis over the years, J-Hope's room in Gwangju is apparently maintained in a state of museum-like preservation. Everything is exactly where he wants it. His old dance trophies from his Gwangju Academy of the Arts days are displayed perfectly. His books are organized by size, then by subject. His clothes, even the ones he keeps at home and rarely wears, are folded with a precision of someone who has genuinely studied the KonMari method and decided it wasn't thorough enough. His mother has reportedly mentioned that she sometimes feels almost nervous about touching things in Hoseok's room because she knows he'll notice if something is even slightly out of place. And the wild thing is, she's probably right. Because J-Hope has talked on multiple occasions about how he can sense when something in his space has been moved, even minutely. It's like a sixth sense, but instead of seeing ghosts, he detects when a book has been shifted 2 centimeters to the left. And while all of this might sound extreme, J-Hope's mother has also made it clear that beneath the cleaning compulsion is one of the most thoughtful sons a parent could ask for. Because J-Hope doesn't just clean his own space, he cleans the common areas because he wants his family's home to feel comfortable and beautiful. He buys organizational products for his mom. He sends her solutions he finds online. He's essentially a personal home organizer for his own mother, and the fact that he does this out of genuine love and care, not obligation, makes it one of the most wholesome things you'll ever hear about a global superstar. This is a man who could hire a team of professional organizers to handle any space he wants, and instead, he rolls up his sleeves, puts on a playlist, and does it himself, dancing the entire time.
Number 4. Namjoon, the philosophical destructor who breaks things and reads about why. Alright, it's time to talk about the leader, Kim Namjoon, RM.
the man with an IQ of 148, a vocabulary that makes English professors nervous, and a reputation for destroying physical objects that is so legendary it has become one of the most documented running jokes in K-pop history. Now, here's the thing about RM's relationship with his mother and the habits she's revealed. It's a study in contradictions, and that's exactly what makes it so fascinating. Because on one hand, you have this man who is genuinely one of the most intellectually gifted people in the entertainment industry. He taught himself English by watching Friends. He writes lyrics that reference philosophers, psychologists, and literary figures. He gives speeches at the United Nations. He visits art museums for fun. He is, by every measurable standard, brilliant. And then, on the other hand, you have the guy who his mother has essentially described as a walking natural disaster when it comes to physical objects. The God of Destruction. And no, that's not just a nickname the fans made up. The members have confirmed it, RM himself has confirmed it, and most importantly, his mother has confirmed it with the resigned sigh of a woman who has watched her son accidentally break things for over 30 decades. According to what has been shared through various channels over the years, member interviews, family segments, and RM's own candid admissions, his mother has a very specific experience when Namjoon comes home, and it goes something like this. He walks in, he's happy to be home, he gives her a hug, maybe sits down at the table, and within the first 48 hours, something in the house will be broken. It's not a question of if, it's a question of what and when. A door handle, a glass, a picture frame, the arm of a pair of sunglasses, a chair leg. The list apparently is extensive and growing. And the most remarkable thing about it, according to his mother, is that Namjoon doesn't break things through carelessness or rough handling. He breaks them through what can only be described as spatial unawareness. The man is so deeply in his own head, thinking about lyrics, concepts, philosophical questions, the meaning of existence, whatever his enormous brain is processing at any given moment, that he genuinely does not notice the physical world around him. He'll be walking through a doorway and catch his shoulder on the frame. He'll reach for a cup and misjudge the distance. He'll sit down on a chair with slightly more force than the chair was engineered to handle. It's not clumsiness in the traditional sense, it's more like his brain is running such complex software that it doesn't have enough processing power left over for basic motor skills. And his mother has apparently dealt with this for so long that she's developed a system. When Namjoon comes home, she discreetly moves fragile items to higher shelves or locked cabinets. She replaces glass cups with plastic ones. She makes sure the expensive things are in rooms Namjoon doesn't frequently enter. It's like baby-proofing a house, except the baby is a 6-foot-tall genius who just finished a world tour. And honestly, if that isn't the funniest mental image you've had today, I don't know what to tell you. But here's where it gets really interesting, because RM's mother hasn't just revealed the destruction, she's also revealed the other side of Namjoon at home, and it's the polar opposite of chaos. Because when Namjoon isn't accidentally dismantling household objects, he's reading, constantly, obsessively, with an intensity that his mother has described as almost worrying at times, because the man will sit down with a book and disappear from reality for hours, not figuratively, literally. His mother has reportedly talked about calling his name multiple times and getting zero response because he's so absorbed in whatever he's reading that his ears have essentially stopped functioning. He reads philosophy, he reads psychology, he reads poetry, he reads novels in both Korean and English. He reads art criticism, social commentary, economic theory. The man consumes written material the way other people consume oxygen. And his room at home, according to what has been shared, reflects this. Books everywhere. Not messy, actually relatively organized, because Namjoon is particular about his book collection, but everywhere. Stacked on the nightstand, lined up on shelves, piled on the desk, a few on the floor next to his bed for late-night reading. His mother has apparently accepted that Namjoon's room will always look like a small independent bookstore, and she's made peace with it. There's also this really endearing habit that Namjoon's mother has apparently discussed, which is Namjoon's tendency to share what he's learning with his family. When he reads something that moves him or makes him think, he doesn't just keep it to himself. He comes out of his room, finds his mom or his family members, and starts explaining the concept to them. Sometimes it's a philosophical idea. Sometimes it's a historical event he just learned about. Sometimes it's a line of poetry that he thinks is beautiful.
And his mother, bless her, apparently listens to all of it with patience and love, even when she has absolutely no idea what her son is talking about. Because that's what mothers do. They listen, even when their brilliant, clumsy, book-obsessed son is trying to explain Jungian archetypes at the dinner table while accidentally knocking over the salt shaker. And this duality, the intellectual giant who can't navigate a kitchen without casualties, the deep thinker who shares his latest philosophical discovery with the same enthusiasm a child shares a new toy, is what makes RM's home persona so deeply human and lovable. His mother has essentially revealed the RM we see in interviews and speeches. Thoughtful, articulate, deeply curious about the world is exactly who he is at home, just with more broken objects.
Number 3. Park Jimin, the affection overload machine who clings to his family like a koala. All right, now we're getting to the part of the list where things start to get really, truly heartwarming. And honestly, if you're a Jimin bias, you might want to prepare yourself emotionally because what his mother has revealed about Park Jimin's home habits is going to hit you right in the feelings. Let's start with the most important thing you need to know about home Jimin, the thing that his mother has apparently emphasized more than anything else. This man is physically incapable of not touching the people he loves. And I don't mean that in a casual, oh he's affectionate kind of way. I mean that Park Jimin, when he is in the presence of his family, becomes what can only be described as a human koala. He hugs, he leans, he drapes himself over people, he holds hands, he rests his head on shoulders. He curls up next to his mother on the couch like he's 5 years old and not a 20-something global superstar who has performed in sold-out stadiums across multiple continents. And his mother has apparently confirmed that this is not a new development. This is not something Jimin does because he's been away and he's feeling sentimental. This is who he has always been. Since he was a baby, Park Jimin has been a contact person. He needs physical closeness the way plants need sunlight, and his mother recognized this about him from the very beginning. She's reportedly talked about how little Jimin would follow her around the house, holding onto the hem of her shirt, not wanting to be more than an arm's length away at any given time. And while most kids grow out of that phase, Jimin apparently just didn't. He refined it, sure. He became more subtle about it as he got older. But the core need, the need to be close, to touch, to feel the physical presence of the people he cares about, never went away. And honestly, if you've watched any BTS content at all, you know this tracks perfectly. Jimin is the member who is always touching the others. A hand on a shoulder, an arm around a waist, a head on someone's chest. He gravitates toward physical contact like it's his native language, and his mother was apparently the first person to notice and nurture this quality in him. But the affection isn't just physical. Jimin's mother has also revealed, through various accounts and stories that have emerged over the years, that her son is emotionally demonstrative in a way that goes beyond what most people expect from a Korean man raised in a culture that can sometimes emphasize emotional restraint. Jimin tells his family he loves them, regularly, out loud, without prompting. He calls his mother when he's on tour and tells her he misses her. He sends long text messages about how grateful he is for his upbringing. He buys gifts, not expensive, flashy gifts meant to impress, but thoughtful, personal gifts that show he's been paying attention to what his family members actually want and need. His mother has apparently received everything from a specific brand of hand cream. She once mentioned she liked a piece of clothing she'd admired in passing, and Jimin remembered. Because that's what Jimin does. He pays attention to the people he loves with an intensity that most people reserve for their jobs or their hobbies. And then there's the other side of Jimin's home life that his mother has revealed, and it's the one that balances out all the sweetness. Park Jimin sleeps like he's being paid for it. No, seriously. When Jimin is home and doesn't have schedules, his mother has reportedly described him as essentially becoming one with his bed. He sleeps late. He sleeps long. He takes naps that turn into full sleep cycles. He wraps himself in blankets like a burrito and becomes so deeply unconscious that his mother has compared waking him up to trying to wake a hibernating bear. And the funniest part is that even when he does finally wake up, there's this transition period, this groggy, disoriented, slightly confused phase where Jimin is technically awake but not fully functional. He wanders around the house in a daze. He mumbles responses to questions. He squints at everything like the concept of light is personally offensive to him. And his mother apparently finds this both endearing and mildly concerning because she worries about his sleep patterns the way any mother would. But here's the thing that connects the sleeping and the affection. When Jimin wakes up from these marathon sleep sessions, the first thing he does, according to what his mother has shared, is find her. Not check his phone, not eat, not shower. He finds his mom. He gives her a hug. He asks if she's eaten. He sits next to her and just exists in her presence for a while, still half asleep, still blinking the dreams out of his eyes but present. There, with her. And if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about Park Jimin as a son and as a human being, then nothing will. His mother has also reportedly talked about Jimin's relationship with food when he's at home, and it's interesting because it contradicts the image some fans might have of him. Jimin has been open in the past about his struggles with diet and body image, especially during BTS's earlier years when the pressure to maintain a certain physique was intense. But at home, according to his mother, Jimin eats well. She makes his favorite foods, things like dakgolbae, kimchi jjigae, and various Busan-style dishes that he grew up with, and he eats them without hesitation, without guilt, without the complicated relationship with food that the industry sometimes forces on idols. And his mother apparently makes sure of this. She cooks for him with purpose, with love, and with the unspoken understanding that her kitchen is a safe space where her son can just enjoy food without thinking about calories or cameras. There's also this habit that Jimin apparently has when he's home that his mother has described as both sweet and slightly ridiculous. He talks to his family's dog with a specific voice. Not just a "who's a good boy" kind of voice. A full character voice. Like he's voicing a character in an animated movie. He has conversations with the dog as if the dog is responding, and he narrates the dog's supposed responses in this tiny, squeaky voice that apparently sends his mother into hysterics every time. It's the kind of silly, unguarded behavior that you would never see in an official BTS video. And it's exactly the kind of detail that reminds you that behind the stage presence and the perfect performances, Jimin is just a guy from Busan who baby talks his dog and falls asleep on his mom's shoulder. Number 2, BTS V, the eccentric soul who lives in his own beautiful universe. Now listen, if you thought the previous entries on this list were interesting, you need to brace yourself. Because we're about to talk about Kim Taehyung V and his home habits as revealed by his family. And honestly, this one might be the most fascinating entry on the entire countdown. Because V is not like the other members. And I don't mean that in a competitive way, I mean it in the most literal, observational, factual sense possible. Kim Taehyung operates on a different frequency than most human beings, and his family, including his mother and his grandmother who played a significant role in raising him, have confirmed this with a level of affectionate acceptance that is genuinely beautiful to hear about. Let's start with the most widely discussed aspect of V's home persona, the one that has become almost legendary among ARMY who pay close attention to the details. Kim Taehyung talks to things, not people, things. Objects, animals, plants, the sky. Anything and everything that exists in his immediate environment is, apparently, a valid conversation partner for V, and this isn't something he does for show or for content. His mother and grandmother have reportedly confirmed that he has been doing this since he was a small child growing up in Daegu and Gyeochang. Little Taehyung would sit in the yard and have full conversations with flowers. He'd talk to bugs. He'd address the clouds like old friends. He'd narrate his own actions in the third person as if he were the main character in a movie that only he could see. And his family didn't discourage this. His grandmother, in particular, who was a huge influence on his early life, apparently found it charming. She let him exist in his own world, and that world, that rich, imaginative, slightly surreal internal universe, became the foundation for the artistic identity that V carries to this day. When V comes home now, as an adult, this habit hasn't faded. If anything, it's expanded. His mother has reportedly described instances of walking into a room to find Taehyung having what appears to be a serious, philosophical conversation with his dog, Yeontan. And not in the way most pet owners talk to their animals, not the who's a good boy baby talk that Jimin apparently does. V talks to Yeontan like Yeontan is an intellectual equal. He discusses his day. He asks for Yeontan's opinion on things. He pauses, waits, and then nods as if he's received an answer. It's equal parts hilarious and genuinely touching, because it reveals a mind that finds meaning and connection everywhere, not just in human interaction, but in the entire fabric of existence. And his mother apparently watches this and just smiles, because she's been watching her son do this for his entire life, and she knows that this is simply how Taehyung processes the world. Externalizes his thoughts. He communicates with his environment. He makes the inanimate animate through the sheer force of his imagination. But the conversations aren't the only thing that makes V's home habits so distinctive. His mother has also revealed, through various accounts that have surfaced over the years, that Taehyung has a relationship with music at home that is deeply different from what you might expect from a professional musician. Most musicians, when they go home, want a break from music. They want silence. They want to decompress. V is the opposite. When he's home, he surrounds himself with music constantly, but it's not K-pop. It's not BTS music. It's jazz, it's classical, it's old Korean ballads, it's Italian opera, it's obscure indie tracks from artists nobody has heard of. He plays music from a speaker in whatever room he's in, and the selection is so eclectic and random that his mother has apparently stopped trying to predict what she'll hear when she walks past his room. 1 minute it's Louis Armstrong, the next it's Debussy, then it's a traditional Korean folk song, then it's some experimental electronic track that sounds like robots having feelings. And he doesn't just listen passively, he reacts. He sways. He closes his eyes and moves his hands like he's conducting an invisible orchestra. He hums along to songs he's never heard before, finding the melody instinctively, and his mother has reportedly described this as one of the most beautiful things she gets to witness as his parent. Her son, in his room, lost in music, completely at peace. There's also a detail about V's sleeping habits that his family has revealed, and it connects to something fans have long suspected. V is a ridiculously deep sleeper, and he has strange sleeping positions. His mother has apparently talked about finding Taehyung asleep in the most bizarre positions and locations around the house, not just in his bed on the couch sideways, on the floor with a book on his chest, half on the bed, half off the bed. In positions that defy the basic principles of human anatomy and comfort, and he sleeps through everything. Thunder, alarms, people calling his name. The man enters a sleep so profound that his mother has joked it's less like sleeping and more like temporarily leaving the planet. And then there's V's photography habit at home, which his mother has also discussed. V is known for his love of photography and his distinctive visual eye, but what many fans might not realize is that he practices this at home too. He takes photos of everything. His mother's garden, the light coming through a window at a specific angle, the texture of a wall, his food before he eats it, the dog from 17 different angles. And he shows these photos to his mother and explains why he took them, why that particular shadow was interesting, why the color of the sky at that moment reminded him of a painting he saw in a museum 3 years ago, why the way the steam rose from a cup of tea looked like a tiny cloud formation. His mother apparently listens to all of this with the patience and love of someone who has long accepted that her son sees the world differently than most people, and she considers it a privilege to get glimpses into his perspective. V's grandmother, before her passing, was also a huge part of his home life, and the habits she revealed about young Taehyung add another layer to understanding who he is. She apparently talked about how Taehyung was always the child who noticed things, the small details that everyone else walked past. A new flower blooming in the garden, a bird building a nest, the way the light changed as the seasons shifted. He wasn't just observant, he was reverent. He treated the world around him with a kind of sacred attention that most adults lose by the time they're 10 years old. And the fact that he still has it, still talks to flowers, still photographs shadows, still conducts invisible orchestras in his childhood bedroom, is a testament to the family that raised him and the environment that allowed his extraordinary mind to flourish. Number 1. BTS Suga, the silent storm who hides an ocean of warmth behind closed doors. And here we are, the top of the list. Number 1. And if you've been waiting for this, if you had a feeling about who would claim this spot, then you already know we're talking about Min Yoongi. Suga. Agus D, the man of 1,000 names and a personality so layered that even after more than a decade of watching him, most people feel like they've only scratched the surface. And when it comes to what his mother has revealed about his real habits at home, the picture that emerges is not just interesting. It's genuinely one of the most moving and complex portraits of any BTS member that exists outside of their official content. Let's start with the thing that probably surprises the least amount of people but carries the most weight when you hear the details. Min Yoongi at home is quiet. Not shy. Not reserved. Quiet. And there's a difference. Shy implies discomfort. Reserved implies holding back. Quiet in Yoongi's case implies a deliberate, intentional relationship with silence that his mother has reportedly described as being a part of him since childhood. When Yoongi comes home to Daegu, he doesn't fill the house with noise. He doesn't perform. He doesn't entertain. He walks in, he greets his family warmly but simply, and then he finds a corner, his room, the living room couch, a chair by the window, and he just exists. Quietly, peacefully, like a cat who has found a sunbeam and decided that this is where he will remain for the foreseeable future. And his mother has apparently revealed that this is not new behavior. This is not the result of fame or exhaustion or introversion amplified by years in the spotlight. This is who Min Yoongi has always been. Even as a child, growing up in Daegu in conditions that were not always comfortable, and Yoongi has been very open about his family's financial struggles during his youth, he was the quiet one. While other kids were running around, screaming, playing, demanding attention, young Yoongi was in his room. And what was he doing in his room? This is where it gets fascinating because his mother has reportedly described a habit that began when Yoongi was in middle school and has never, ever stopped. He was making music, not playing music, not listening to music, making it, creating it. At an age when most kids are worried about homework and video games, Min Yoongi was hunched over whatever equipment he could get his hands on, initially a cheap keyboard, later a second-hand computer, teaching himself how to produce beats. And his mother, who didn't fully understand what he was doing at first, has apparently talked about the sound of it, the muffled thump of bass coming from behind his closed door at midnight, at 1 a.m., at 3 a.m., at 5 a.m., the click of a mouse, the occasional burst of Yoongi's voice as he tested a vocal melody, and then silence again, and then more beats. She didn't always know what her son was building in that room, but she knew it was important to him, and she let him work. And that dynamic, that unspoken agreement between a mother and a son, where she provides the space and he fills it with creation, apparently continues to this day. When Yoongi comes home, one of his primary habits is to disappear into a room and work on music. Not BTS music necessarily, just music, ideas, fragments, beats that might become songs or might just remain experiments. He works with headphones on, and his mother has reportedly said that she can always tell how deeply he's in the creative zone by how long he goes without emerging. If it's an hour, he's tinkering. If it's 4 hours, he's onto something. If it's 8 hours and he hasn't eaten, he's in the zone, and she knows better than to interrupt. Instead, she'll quietly open his door and leave food on the desk. Not say anything. Just leave the food and close the door. And Yoongi, apparently, will eat it eventually. Sometimes hours later, sometimes cold, but he eats it, and his mother knows he appreciates it even if he doesn't always say so in the moment. And this brings us to the part of Yoongi's home habits that earns him the number 1 spot on this list, the contrast between his surface-level quietness and the depth of his emotional actions. Because while Yoongi might be the quietest member of BTS, his mother has revealed that he is also, in many ways, the most attentive. He doesn't express love through words or physical affection the way Jimin does. He doesn't fill the house with laughter the way Jin does. He shows love through action, quietly, deliberately, almost invisibly. His mother has reportedly talked about discovering things that Yoongi has done without telling anyone. Money transferred to the family account with no explanation needed. New appliances appearing in the kitchen, a better rice cooker, a more efficient water purifier that Yoongi ordered and had delivered without fanfare. Repairs arranged for things in the house that needed fixing, handled by Yoongi through phone calls he made without being asked. His mother has apparently described it as waking up one morning and realizing that her son has been taking care of the family in 100 small ways that she didn't even notice at first, because he does it so quietly, so without ceremony, that you could miss it entirely if you weren't paying attention. And there's a specific story that has circulated among fans and was referenced in various content analyses about how Yoongi, after BTS started making serious money, one of the first things he did was buy his parents an apartment. Not a flashy gesture, not a public announcement. He just did it, quietly, because that's Yoongi. He has also reportedly made sure that his parents are financially comfortable in ways that go beyond a single purchase, setting up systems, making investments, ensuring that the family that struggled when he was young will never struggle again. And his mother has apparently talked about this with a mix of pride and that specific kind of maternal heartache that comes from knowing your child was motivated by the memory of harder times. There's also this habit that Yoongi has at home that connects beautifully to his public persona. He watches basketball, a lot. When he's home, according to his mother, he'll put on NBA games and watch them with an intensity that rivals his music production focus. He yells at the screen. He critiques plays. He has opinions about coaching decisions. And it's one of the only times, according to his mother, that he gets genuinely loud at home. Not angry loud, passionate loud. The same passion he puts into his music, redirected at a basketball game on television. And she apparently loves it, because it's one of the rare moments when her quiet, contained, intensely focused son lets the volume up, and it reminds her that underneath all the composure, there's a fire. There's always been a fire, and maybe that's the most important thing Yoongi's mother has revealed about her son, that the quiet is not emptiness. The silence is not absence, it's fullness. It's a man who feels so deeply, creates so intensely, and loves so thoroughly that he doesn't need to be loud about it. He just does it. Day after day, song after song, silent act of love after silent act of love. And his mother, who has watched him grow from a quiet kid in Daegu with a cheap keyboard and an impossible dream into one of the most respected musicians and producers in the world, knows this better than anyone. Min Yoongi at home is not the swag-dripping rapper who commands stages. He's not Agus D with the fire and the fury. He's Yoongi, her son. Quiet, warm, attentive, and always working on the next beat behind a closed door while she leaves a plate of food on his desk and smiles. And there you have it, 7 mothers, 7 sons, 7 completely different sets of habits that range from the hilarious to the deeply touching. What makes this list special isn't just the individual stories, it's what they collectively reveal about BTS as a group. These are men who have achieved things that most people can't even conceptualize, who have broken records and shattered barriers and changed the entire landscape of global music. And yet at home, they are exactly what every mother hopes her son will be: real, imperfect, funny, loving, human. And maybe that's the real secret behind BTS's connection with millions of fans around the world. They never forgot who they were before the fame, because their mothers wouldn't let them.